Common Council with proposal on additional carts, which we have shared with the council. This is the memo that I've sent to the council from BNL on some options for adding an additional cart. Send out an additional mailing to phase one. We did do that. We also included a survey for folks to provide us with feedback. The survey got a little unwieldy because it was intended for people who had already had carts as part of phase one, but once it was picked up by some media outlets, which we appreciate them spreading the word, but then folks who don't have carts yet started to give us feedback on what they think it'll be like when they have carts, and that's just not really the information we were looking for. But again, we are combing that information for some constructive feedback that we can use going forward. Increasing the number of weeks for warnings in phase two. So we did about 2 weeks of warnings in phase one, and so we anticipate doing tripling that to, or doubling or tripling that to 4 to 6 weeks of warnings in phase two to give people enough time to understand what it is we're looking for in terms of set out violations. Working with the Syracuse City School District to reach young people and families. So Ruth Nee is here. She has been reaching out to the school district. Understandably, it's a busy time of year for them, but since we don't plan on issuing violation notices until, if we do the 4 to 6 week time frame when we're rolling these carts out mid-September, we won't be issuing violation notices until, the end of October. And so we think that gives us enough time, but we've got some things for all ages, whether it's videos or coloring books or, things to try and share with young people and with families what the expectation is for set outs. Increasing proactive outreach. So tabling at events. So we've tried to incorporate this. Denise Moore, who is the City Line coordinator, often tables at community events. And so we've added carts into her repertoire of information to share at events. And then the events that we have remaining, some of the major downtown events, we plan to have staff there, sharing information on carts, especially since then everybody will have the carts. So it'll be more relevant for them. And then I think, as I mentioned in my email, we plan on putting a cart in assessment, in the city payment center, in the central permit office, in areas where we see members of the public so that they can grab information and actually see what the cart looks like in the flesh. Phase two, send targeted mailing to property owners that have non-compliance. So this was a suggestion from Councilor Majoke, and so we have that letter ready. So once we roll out phase two, anyone who does receive a violation notice would get a targeted mailing to just educate them a little bit more on what's expected, and then create a video. This was Councilor Schultz's suggestion, demonstrating proper set-out practices. I am proud to announce that Sol and I and members of their distinguished sanitation team were at DPW on Friday afternoon, and let the humiliation begin, because we will have the video up and running soon. So those are some of the feedback that we've gotten in phase one. And then just moving on to phase two by the numbers. So rollout begins September 5th. This will be a cart delivery to the remaining 80% of the city that doesn't yet have a cart. It'll be 36,000 carts to 25,000 parcels. So obviously a parcel could have multiple units, hence the increased number of carts. They'll be delivered in a 2-week window. So it will end, I think if I looked at the calendar right, it's the 16th that it'll end. We have ongoing meetings with sanitation crews, both the leadership and the laborers, just to make sure that all the expectations are clear and people know how to use the tippers. I mean, most of them have used them by this point, but just making sure everybody's comfortable with that. We haven't had any work-related injuries reported from the crews that are using the tippers and the carts. So that's, whereas we have with the other crews that are not using tippers and carts. So that's some good news. City Line, we are implementing the lessons from phase one and really trying to make sure that we've streamlined the process when folks call and standardize, what it is that we tell them. And we will be bringing on some additional staff to handle the anticipated increase in call volume. Just had a conversation at the end of last week with some folks from On Point that worked with us over the summer and would like to stay with us on through the fall. So we'd like to keep them on just to make sure that City Line has the capacity to take the calls that we anticipate. And that's all.
Lorraine, any questions?
So on the additional warnings, have the number of warnings decreased over these last, say, 4 weeks?
I don't know, because we don't, I mean, we could find out whether or not what we have in our inventory has changed at all, but we don't track who we're issuing warnings to. It's really just something that we leave there. So I could certainly find out, at least from the crews, do they sense that it's been going up or down or anything? Yeah.
Because ideally, if we didn't put this on pause, those warnings would have been violations, right?
They would have been violation notices, whether or not those folks would have corrected the violation, so it wouldn't have resulted in a fine.
Okay.
But yeah, the warnings would have been violation notices.
I think it'll just be interesting to see if they're actually learning the process.
Sure.
Because if they're learning the process, then the warning should decrease.
Yeah. Do you have any to add on that?
No, just saying that the number of complaints have dropped
Okay.
steadily over the past couple weeks.
That's what I was going to ask you, right? I was going to ask you, how many calls do you guys get? Because I know we get a lot of them. We receive some from an older person, and they still have the complaint about how big the cart is and how that's going to be like a little hard for them to maneuver that big old cart. So I'm curious have you guys been getting those calls? Because I have.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes I think people don't know that we make accommodations, we make exemptions for folks like that. And so I just got a call at the end of last week from a friend of the family who's about to get a cart. And she says, I've got bad knees, I've got a bad back, I'm not going to be able to do this. I said, that's fine. Give me your address. We'll send out the form. She gave me a call over the weekend with a couple questions about the form. I said, we will make an exemption. We'll have accommodations. We still want people to put it in some sort of container if they can. But, we're happy to make accommodations for folks who just physically can't navigate the cart.
I'm not trying to be the devil's advocate, but what's going to be our capacity to give these folks the service that they need if they need us to come and help them with their carts?
I mean, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what the volume is. I mean, I think we've only gotten a couple dozen out of the 6,800 properties that we've rolled out in phase one. Obviously that number is going to go up, but, we're going to need to monitor and track it to see, do we need additional staff dedicated to this? Do we need to create separate routes? I mean, the hope is that people are still able to put something to the curb, but obviously, given people's limitations, some people might not be able to do that. The goal of the program is to try and keep the city cleaner. It's not to make people do things that they physically are not able to do. And we're going to have to just monitor that and see whether or not, with Commissioner Robinson, whether or not we need to add any additional staffing to the sanitation crews to meet that need.
And so for those that need the assistance with their carts, who do they contact and how do they get their information or their address?
Yeah, I mean, their best bet is to reach out to CityLine, or they can go to sear.gov/carts. But all that information is on there, but, CityLine is always kind of the easiest best bet.
Yeah, but we know a lot of folks, let's be honest about it, Corey. There's a lot of older folks and there's a lot of not so older folks that don't do the computer stuff. So they're going to get caught in the middle of it because they're not computer literate.
So delivered with the carts will be frequently asked questions and a letter that explains to people, if you have physical limitations, here's what you can do. Call CityLine, and CityLine will mail the application out to you. So we made sure to provide it in print also with the acknowledgement that not everybody's on a computer, not everybody's going to go to the website, but the printed letter that's delivered with the carts, or any questions or concerns on all of our information, it says to call CityLine. So we're hoping that we can reach people that way as well.
So procedurally, where does that go? You get a concern from a neighbor saying that, I can't get to the curb with the trash. I can put it in the trash. So what happens then?
So we ask them to, either if they can get the form or we will mail them the form. We approach it the same way we do as parking with people who have disabilities. So just send back the form, give us a doctor's note, and then we will enter it into the system called Rubicon that we've been using to track people's service. So that way, when the sanitation crew pulls up to that property, a little thing will pop up on the screen that says, whatever language we end up using, this person has an accommodation. And so this person is not using a cart. And that way the sanitation crew will know this is a property. And oftentimes the crews are doing the same neighborhoods over and over again. Right. So I think they'll get familiar with the properties as they do now in a more kind of informal process. They know which properties, this person who lives here always has to put it outside of their kitchen door, their side door, because they can't get there. But that way, at least we're trying to reserve the service for those who really need it and modeling it after a process that we already have in place.
So ideally, you'd have the crew and the foreman would both be aware that 202 Hillcrest Avenue is that person needs.
Correct. And that's why also the Rubicon in the cab of the truck helps, because say you have a new crew leader or you have a crew that's filling in for somebody, that they don't need to know that street to know that this person has an accommodation.
So can I just throw out something, right? Because I know we have our permanent full-time employees, but I also know that the temp employees are coming to a close in a minute. So why couldn't we actually figure out the number that we would need and maybe continue with some of those employees to be the ones? Because I don't really think Sinai is going to have the ability to keep chasing behind, but those temporary workers, they'll be able to know those addresses. Why can't we use them for that?
We don't know what we don't know. So when this rollout comes out, we don't know how many assistant or accommodations we're going to be able to use. So until we can roll it out, then we'll adjust on the fly.
You got the first rollout, you said it was a dozen?
Yeah, just a dozen.
Is there any reason why the form can't be put on the SearGov website versus mailing it? I know I already ran into that issue with a constituent, and they said that it had to be mailed from City Line, so.
That's a good question. I didn't realize it wasn't available on the website, so we can add that up.
Also, if I can add to what Counselor Allen asked about the violations and warnings, multi-unit rental registry, the ability to email, because of the short time frame of the 24-hour turnaround, not everybody has a property manager. How are we doing with that?
Yep, that is moving forward. I actually just texted Sam Perry right before this meeting started to connect him with API because they're ready to have him test the handhelds in the field. So the hope is that before we start issuing violation notices at the end of October, we'll have that whole system worked out. So, yeah.
Good question.
First. My hand was up like this. Go ahead, Joe. No, go ahead.
So 2 questions. The first one is, with this, as you deliver these notification, is it one time or is there a second round?
Which
to
notice?
That's what I was going to say.
Those that you did deliver with the cards.
So there was an initial, a citywide mailing that went out. Nice one that had the mayor's picture on it. There's another mailing that is going to go out that Sol has a copy of right there. And then there's also a packet of information that comes with the cart in a bag that has, these are for different languages. This has the frequently asked questions, a letter to the resident, and another postcard. So, we are not ruling out adding more. I think part of it is rolling out the carts to see what are the issues so then we can tailor. Again, we won't be issuing violation notices until the end of October for cart-related violations. So,
The instruction.
Yeah, so I mean, I think.
So the 3.
So there are
At least
3
3.
right now, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in addition to, for those that are on social media, and the beautiful video that we'll be making. But I think what we'd like to do, since we do have some time, violation notices wouldn't be going out until the end of October, is to see what kind of behavior we're seeing in phase 2 so that we can tailor the mailings to address the behavior that we're seeing in the field.
Okay. The second question, and I'll be done.
Go ahead.
The second question is, we know that there are ombudsmen through code, right? Have we tailored any communication with them, because they are in the neighborhood, they are out there, and we made sure that they are equipped with that kind of information, because they are constantly interfacing with constituents that would otherwise sometimes don't read, and they are more accessible.
So you're saying providing educational materials to code enforcement officers who are in the field?
In the field.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a great idea.
Ombudsman, those that are in the neighborhood, I know there are some in the north side that are interfacing with New Americans, and, and they are there. They are
Yes.
there in places that, you would normally not reach, but they are there.
No, that's a great idea. And we have had a number of city departments kind of raise their hand and say, how can we help? Assessment raised their hand and said, it'd be great. We have a lot of seniors that come into our office for them to actually see this cart before it's delivered to them, or, as it's delivered to them, get additional information. So providing it to code inspectors is a great idea. Yeah, parks and, yeah.
I have a 3-part question. And I just would like, because we're live where people can hear, for the extra cans, where are we with that if people need extra cans.
So we've shared with the council the different options. I just am waiting for feedback on the council on how you guys would like to proceed.
I know, could you tell the options?
So,
I'm aware, but I want,
so one would be, request, so, and the memo has pros and cons for each one. Providing the card at no additional fee. Obviously, that's great for residents, not so great for us, because we'd be, yeah.
And I hear you, and I just got to jump in on that, Corey, because I hear what you're saying. It would be great for the residents, not for us. But at this point, we done nickel and dime the residents to death. You know what I mean? So to keep hitting them again with all these different fees, I'm not feeling that. I'm not.
So they're asking, so I'm looking to the council for feedback on how you'd like to roll it out. I mean, folks, totally understand that there's a sensitivity. We want to make sure the cost is affordable. These folks are getting a service above and beyond what everybody else would be getting. They'd be getting double the capacity for trash. And so, there would need to be in I think DPW's estimation, some cost associated with getting an additional cart. Otherwise, then everybody would just get an endless number of carts, and we want to have a cost associated with, it's going to cost us more money to get rid of that additional trash. It's going to be, more time. We'd have to buy more carts than we have, and so we at least want to be recouped for those costs. So that's one of the options. One of them is to a one-time upfront fee, and there are pros and cons associated with that. There's a one-time upfront, there's a upfront fee and then a recurring fee. And that way, it also incentivizes people who don't need that extra cart to say, I don't need this anymore, so stop charging me this fee. And then that we say, great, and we take that extra cart back because the next person who lives in that house doesn't need it anymore. And then the last option is to not provide additional carts at all. So, I mean, those are the 4 options that are outlined in the B&L memo that we've shared.
And thank you.
Of course.
The constituents here. The second thing is, it was out there that the trash cans had to be picked up by a certain, put back in their yard by a certain time. Did we fix that?
So we haven't introduced legislation yet to amend the ordinance. We can. I know there was some back and forth with your colleague, Councilor Hogan, on what time we should be putting that, but we welcome,
Those carts are out there in the front yards of those houses. In my neighborhoods, sometimes they're all week.
So, I mean, what would be?
I mean, not the carts, because they don't have carts yet, but they got different types of trash barrels. So.
Right. So, I mean, right now, I think it's, 6 o'clock, you're supposed to pull them back. I know Councilor Caldwell's made the point that 6 o'clock doesn't work for everybody. So just looking to the council, what do you think would work? And then
It'd be at least 24 hours.
Yes.
By the next
After your
morning,
pickup?
you should have enough time to bring your cart back. I think that's ideal.
Because it depends on when they pick up your trash. Some people are gone for work. Some people work second shift. Some people work 12 and 15 hours. You know what I mean? So you at least got to give people 24 hours. So I want to make sure that it's cleared in legislation.
Yeah.
for
So
that.
if the cart is supposed to be set up by 6 a.m. on Wednesday, they have until 6 a.m. on Thursday to pull it back.
That's
okay.
ideal. Like,
That's
I don't
fine.
get home until 9 o'clock, so I would be getting fined
Every day.
every week. Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, and get that legislation in front of the council.
So, Corey, I know, and I'm not.
I think I'm done.
Oh, you done?
I think Councilor Majok said he had 2 questions.
He asked us to. And he came in when I had both hands like this. He'd come right in like, hey, no, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Councilman. Go ahead. I'm going to pass it.
Are you sure?
I passed it to you.
Are you sure?
Now, let me see if you can make the shot. Let's go.
I got my money.
I had to come back with it, but I can't. I got to keep this one. I know I'm not the only one that.
A bunch of kids.
What's the war? Yeah, what's the war?
I know I'm not the only one that, when my recyclable or trash get picked up every morning, that my can get thrown, that, especially with recyclable, that if you look at my recyclable bin, it looked like somebody ripped through it. Now, I'm asking that because if with these containers, are the resident going to be exempt from the cost of broken containers?
So I think, right now we haven't been, if people have had a broken container or anything like that. We haven't been charging people yet. I think we need to see what the volume is in terms of replacement. We'll have replacement carts on hand, but I think we need to see how frequently it's coming in. I mean, because those are coming at a cost to the city. It's less cost than if you went to go buy a similar can at Lowe's as a resident, but, you know, those carts do cost something, and I think we need to try and determine what the replacement rate really is. I mean, I will say, yeah, I don't know if you've tried to throw one of these 96-gallon
I
cans.
can do it, but I don't know.
It's not as easy as tossing the recycling bin.
And
Yeah.
I'll be honest with mine, because I was in this first phase, and I look at my Ring camera when I'm not at home, I'm watching them, like, they can't throw these. Like, it would be too much work for them to throw them. Now, my recycling bins are
yeah.
down the street.
Yep.
But the trash cans are normally, it's nice and neat when I get home, but the bins are so small, the recycling bins are so small, they're still scattered. So that's a good thing. They can't throw them, they're too big.
You can if you eat some chicken.
I'm worried that. Getting close.
So I have a question. You mentioned that there's 36,000 carts for 25,000 properties that are going out. Is there any consideration, or do you think that there'll be the ability to take carts back? For instance, a 10-unit building that doesn't need 10 carts and there's nowhere to store them on the property, so maybe reclaim some of those?
Yeah, I think as we're trying to work with property owners to give them the right number of carts to meet their needs. So if they tell us we don't need these, then we'll give them, just the number that they need. And I think with some of the technology that we've introduced, we're getting to a point, because initially our concern was being able to track that. I think we're getting to a place where we can better track that with some of the software that we have. But, it does remain a concern, but ultimately we want to give people the number of carts to meet their need.
Have you reclaimed any in this phase one?
Not to my knowledge, but but I don't know. I think Ann would probably be the best person to answer that, and she and Connor are at a conference in San Diego celebrating our snowplow map award that we're getting from the APWA. So,
Corey, when
couldn't make
you
it.
reclaim the carts, right, you put a new barcode on associated to a new property, right?
we would I'd have to ask Ann, I don't know whether we put a new barcode or we just take that barcode and now this isn't Counselor Schultz's barcode anymore. Now it's Commissioner Robinson's
When
barcode.
we knew, you just reassign it.
Reassign.
And then I want to ask you, that little trifold that the city sends out about city services?
Yes.
Could you add in about the carts on that?
Yes.
Because
yes.
that goes out yearly, right?
Yes, it does. Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations internally about what we want to put in the city service guide, but carts being in there is number one.
QR code to the video would be really good.
Oh,
And
yes.
people can just scan it,
Depending on
watch
how
it.
embarrassing the video is, yes. No, absolutely. No, it makes a lot of
You
sense.
should get constituents to be the actors.
Yeah.
And you guys
Well,
don't need to be
We
the,
went with the sanitation superintendent, Kenny Thomas, and what was the other gentleman's name? I know there was a nickname, but I didn't want to, okay, I don't want to share his nickname. Okay. We'll keep that. A crew.
So I have another, part of my 3 questions. I know it was 3, but, no comment. So the rollout not the rollout, but the opportunity, if there's a bunch of trash, more summertime and holidays, Christmas is coming, what are we doing with that? If the trash can no longer, how we have 3 times a year, you can have a certain amount. Where are we at with that? Where if someone has extra trash, can they call in? Because holidays are coming, so we know.
Right. So we've had conversations, and I think once we get through the delivery of the carts, I think we'd like to, and I'm not sure whether it's at a study session or a meeting with counselors individually, some ideas of ways in which we could try to make the bulk set out process work more for people, given that, we want to try to discourage bags at the curbs, but also we know that this is a pretty big culture change that we're putting on folks. So is there a middle ground between where ideally we'd all love to go, but the reality of where we are now? And so right now it's status quo, but we would welcome the opportunity to talk to the council about a couple different options that we have for bulk setouts to try and approach it a little differently.
Like a Christmas exemption?
Yeah, I mean,
Christmas is just insane.
That's why, and we've been working with BNL to look at what other large cities do. I know, we want to try to get away from bags at the curb, but what are some options that we could?
There's several options that we can, implement. There's stickers that we can give the residents, a certain amount of stickers. And just because Christmas is good for someone, it might not be good for others, and they can just use it. Discretion. So we're talking internally. to figure that out, but I think that might be the way to go.
Like the stickers you use for like Earth Day?
Yeah,
Put
just
those
putting it on the
Gotcha.
bag and saying, "Here, I got extra trash."
If you had extra bags, like clear bags, number one, the workers could see what's in it, and if it's too heavy and a risk for them to lift, then they don't take it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
other municipalities do that. Oswego, I think, does it.
Right. I mean, and
Portland
that's,
does it.
yeah. I mean, that's, in an ideal world, no one would have bags to curbs, but to your point, Counselor Schultz, other municipalities do it. And so is there a place that we can do it that doesn't move us away from the goal that launched us in this program in the first place, but also meets people where they're at?
Right, I think we should.
All the time.
I think it's gonna be important, like those holidays, and even when summer come, we allow 3 times a year we can put out.
Like a
we
sticker
meet-
idea with that, pair with that.
Yeah, to give people opportunity for that. And the violations for rental properties, are we making sure that the addresses, when we send the violations, is actually going to the owner of the house and not just the, you know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, for the violation notice, that's the way, and I think to Counselor Schultz's earlier question about improvements to the program, the way that it works now is, for better, for worse, the violation notice is in triplicate, and one copy of the ticket is left at the property, one is mailed to the owner, but to the point, oftentimes by the time the owner receives the mailing, we've already picked it up and charged them. But we've complied with the ordinance, but logically, I understand the pushback that by the time the owner found out this was a problem, we had already picked it up and charged them. So what we're moving towards, the handheld devices that I referenced with Sam Perry, is that if we have an email address, the owner's email address on file, the functionality exists for us to immediately, once we issue that violation notice, to let the owner know. Because we do find in most cases, at least right now, 75% of people who receive a violation notice correct the violation. And so that kind of tells us if people are aware that there's an issue, they don't usually want to get charged by the city for doing it. So if we could reach the owners more quickly, maybe we could make that number even higher and avoid violation notices altogether. So that's the idea. And for the mailings, we are sending mailings both to the property address and to the property owner, understanding that not everybody who owns property lives in the city.
So for the owners, right, some of the owners are banks. So they're getting these notifications as well, right?
Correct. Yeah, whatever the owner is that's on file with the county clerk is who we're sending the violation notice to, and ultimately the bill if it's not corrected.
I think, Corey, as you think along the line of exemption in terms of holiday, I think it's good to look at
Arbor Day.
Arbor Day? You produce a lot of trash on Arbor Day? I could see that. Certainly not St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, no
No
that's the
trash
day that
generated there.
We should pick up everything. on
That's
St.
that's
Patrick's Day.
the
We're
overflowing
gonna-
recycling bin on those days.
I think it's good to think of from a perspective of major holidays.
Absolutely. I've heard.
Yes.
I've heard.
Actually, I go there.
Oh,
I
yeah.
try to go there.
If I can get this fixed, maybe I can. Yeah. No, I mean, you're right. There are needs in the community. We want to try and meet those needs, provide some flexibility that we can without returning to the conditions that brought us here in the first place. So we're pretty confident that we can come to those, to some proposals that we can bring to the council in short order.
I think the research done by Barton and Judas there about the extra carts, I think that was really good. And it certainly gives us the information to make a, cognitive decision on this. But, it does disturb me. I don't think we want to encourage extra waste. And it seems like now, especially in a couple of neighborhoods I have, I don't think people ever cook. I think it's like, I'm not kidding you. They styrofoam
Bread and
containers for everything.
Yeah.
Because they're mostly, younger people you're just out of school or in school, So I think we should charge for those extra carts. Now, I don't know if there should be a provision for people, homeowners, single family. Maybe that's something we should look at.
So, I mean, yeah. And the as you referenced, Counselor, the information provided in the memo, this is not, the administration's proposal, but the request came, we asked BNL to put together a memo that gives us options as a starting point in the conversation.
The costs are significant.
For
for us to pick up extra trash.
And
And here's another thing I worry about. This happened more than, well, actually, it happened under a previous mayor's administration where we had outside people coming in dumping trash.
Correct.
You know, because sometimes these landlords, they own properties outside the city.
Right.
And they get charged a lot more if we, you know, if we
In the
start throwing
suburban
extra
areas.
additional carts around.
Yeah, that is one area of concern that we have, is just if we provide additional carts at no cost, that some people might, while the intent is to try and meet families' needs, which are completely understandable, they might be ripe for abuse. So we just need to find a middle ground.
So,
That's why you get
You
jumped in on so quick, because you take too long.
I be trying to be respectful. I be looking at my other counselors like, you know, I don't just cherry pick.
Girl,
No, I'm just kidding. So listen, I know this is about the carts, but one thing when Counselor Hogan said about the trash, that just flashed in my head. Where are we with getting more trash cans in the community? Like, I know we have it in the downtown district, like every so many feet, right? But in the community where there's, you know, business districts, right, how it's zoned, different stores all over the place, business, there's no trash cans. So like the north side, Butternut, they need some trash cans. Like, it's tough. So I want to make sure that as we're implementing this, like, we're thinking about the trash cans in the communities where it's zoned with businesses. We need to do better with that.
And I think also there's a newly created position with a new person in that position for business corridor coordinator. Someone can correct me on what that title is, but Tim? Something
Just
along
the
those lines.
director of operations, that's all. It's some title.
It's MBD, that's not my bag. If it were DPW, I'd know it. But it's somebody whose job is to really assess the business corridors. I think Brianka is in that position. And so, you know, she's there assessing the needs of the business district. And so I think I can absolutely reach out to her to say, you know, if trash cans are an issue along these business corridors, let us know, because it's also meant to try to coordinate infrastructure improvements, have some closer relationships with business owners, apprise them of when we're doing construction. So I think that's really the nature of that. So that would be one thing to put on her plate, to say, let us know, you know, because I think while we don't want to put them everywhere where they might not be needed, we want to make sure they're where they're necessary.
But you know, to Councilor Caldwell's point, I think I've been saying this, I think I say it yearly. Sundays, if you drive through downtown, the trash isn't picked up. And it's like the trash is overflowing our trash cans. And I think if we could just put a crew on Sundays, and maybe they could hit the major parks at the same time, you know, for a whole, I mean, I know Commissioner, but I mean like Thornton Park, Burnett Park, all the major parks, plus downtown. I mean, I've seen this happen. I mean, we got visitors to downtown, people staying in conventions and stuff, and they walk out on Sunday, and it looks like a hurricane in the place.
I get it. We have a crew that comes Saturday for Friday. It's the Sunday.
That
I get
precludes
it.
Saturday night.
We've been looking at that. Sometimes we do bring in, depends on what events, like if we have events downtown or some type of major concerts that come in town, we usually staff it. It's not a regular thing, but
We got to remember,
look.
downtown's a neighborhood.
I get it.
Too. You got 4,000 people living, 5,000 people.
We'll look at that.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
need to do the
Doesn't
Disney
hurt.
model. If you guys look into the Disney model, why Disney is so clean, they have a model of every so many feet, there needs to be trash cans. So in neighborhoods where there's tons of corner stores every 50
Yeah.
feet, if people eating an ice cream cone and the wrappers in their hands, by the time they get done, there's no trash can.
We should charge for those corner stores. I'll tell you.
I was going to
Because I
say
live
Disney
across the street from
ain't
the corner
downtown. That ain't,
Yeah.
You know?
people ain't bringing their home
Yeah.
trash to Disney cans. So
Yeah.
that's
Can I ask
the
a
problem.
question? When we talk about extra carts, Corey, does it necessarily have to be the big one, or could we scale it down to a smaller one?
So I think the issue becomes, so I guess the short answer is we can look into that and see. I mean, I think part of the issue is just the trucks that we have and the inventory
Okay.
that we have, you know,
Okay.
but so I think we'd probably keep it to 96, so that's the standard size. But I could certainly
I was just thinking
ask.
for the second cart, it didn't
Understood.
necessarily have to be the big 90
Sure.
gallon. And then back to Counselor Hogan's, then I'm gonna get up off of it, right? Because this is a Jeremy job. You know how we talk about people visiting, and we know we got the A-Loft, and we got all them people walking around at Inner Harbor and that Creekside and going to Preserve, As soon as they walk out the preserve by Parks and Rec, they turn to their left, they're gonna see all this garbage piled up across the street. Y'all removed the couch, but there's more garbage over there. And it's just, I mean, they're dumping. That's where they're dumping at.
The storage facility, people probably.
Right across the street from the storage place.
Okay.
So I have a question about the bulk set out. I know we've talked about this a million times, but I'm not so sure I'm clear on that. Can a bulk set out be 5 extra garbage bags?
Not right now.
Right. So
Not
the
right now.
sticker that we've talked about would be to stick on garbage bags.
That's what some municipalities do. Yeah, you would get 10 stickers.
yeah.
We'd mail out 10 stickers with your service guide, and so that way, whatever the number is. So that way during the year, if you have a trash bag out there and you put a sticker on it, then that's it. But once you've hit 10, that's it.
But currently, our cart process, we don't have any ability to collect bags beyond what's in your closed cart.
Right now, the
period.
ordinance says that for a bulk set out, extra bags of trash do not count. Now, hopefully maybe we can reach a bulk set out revision to the ordinance with the council before the end of October, so that way we could address Councilor Caldwell's concerns, before we're issuing violation notices.
The Barton and Judas report does actually talk about the bulk waste on page 8, 16, 27, 34. So
I know
maybe
that
we
right
just-
up here.
Yeah, I bet you do. But maybe go back to that and see, because they do have suggestions on, I don't know what white bags are considered,
Right.
but go back to that, because we
Yeah,
paid them a
that's-
lot of money for that, right?
Yeah, that's who we've been, they've been bringing us a lot of ideas from, you're right, Counselor, a lot of ideas from other municipalities of what they do. And one of them was, stickers, or some communities, it's all one week, and that's it. And there's, but obviously that doesn't work if you're, we have it all the week after Christmas. Well, that doesn't address people that have bulk some other time of the year that's not Christmas, So having that kind of flexibility while still making it predictable for our crews is the priority. So yeah, we will continue the conversation with the BNL and hopefully get something before the council before the end of October.
So what are we doing from the first phase? What have we done with the constituent old garbage bin?
People can put signs on their garbage cans and say, DPW, please take this, and DPW will take it.
Okay. Have you ran into a situation where somebody who need extra card have been able, and I'm not going to use it, right? Have been able to use that extra card that they already had? Or is that we made sure that, this is...
So we'll make sure you get an extra cart.
No, the way the ordinance is the cart, if we give you the cart is what you need to use, and
that you need
only
to
the
use?
cart.
Okay, and then you can either dispose of that free of charge, right? Your old one.
Sure.
Okay.
Same as
okay.
you could do before carts. If you, 2 or 3 years ago, if you bought a new trash can and you wanted to get rid of your old trash can, I know I did this. I just put a sign on it that says, DPW, please take this. This is trash, and they took it.
They ask you to put a sign on it. 'Cause if you don't, we'll just leave it.
Oh, okay. I see. That's good.
Did you say you had stickers or notices that people could ask? Sticker.
No, I don't think so. We just asked people. I did mine with my recycling bin last week. I have a broken recycling bin, probably from being tossed. And so I just put a note and taped it on it that said, DPW, please take
So
this.
it can be any note, it just,
Yeah.
all right.
Legible, but yeah.
Question, right? So when you're talking about the trash bags, because you have to put a trash bag in the cart, right? So are there clear trash bags, or are they the contractor's trash bags? I mean, you saying, shaking Jeremy, you know how much recycled crap they could put in those contractor bags while you're pulling out garbage, and it's supposed to only be garbage?
I get it. Currently, whatever the ordinance states, I'm not sure if it's clear or dark, or I know some ordinance in other municipalities state you have to have a clear bag, but I don't think,
I don't know that I'd have to, this is where we miss Ann.
So I could keep on putting all my recycles in the dark contractor bag, right?
Well,
I'm just playing, I'm just playing.
when you put them in your trash bag, yeah. In trash can,
we're
yeah.
trying to get away from that. So that's why people.
That's why I asked the question.
No, I know. I got
Yeah.
you.
I think the
I
deputy
think a
mayor
lot of
uses
people do the same
contractor
thing.
bags.
Not as you, because you don't do that, but
Oh, no, I would never.
a lot of people do. Don't recycle and just throw everything in the trash.
Right.
And there's a lot of education that we want to pursue as we roll out recycling even just last week, I realized that I was confused on what you could do with wine bottles.
I think everyone's confused with recycling, whether you can recycle.
Liquor bottles, I was clear, but wine bottles, I was a little,
So let me ask,
yeah, wine, we have options.
so let me ask another question, right? I'm jumping ahead to recycling. So what do you think the recycling bins are gonna look like? The cart, are they gonna be carts? Are they gonna, what are they, they're gonna be
Be the
carts
same.
as well? Same 90 gallons?
96-gallon carts.
Every
And-
other week.
And, and that's, a lot of municipalities move to every other week
Every
pickup.
other week.
What about the shape? Is it gonna be this?
The same, yeah, it'd be basically the same as what we have now, just a different color.
If you don't need to put it out, just don't put it out.
This is for the recyclables? You said every other week?
Every other
That's
week.
what we're talking about doing, is moving to every other week, because,
It's the same at every municipality.
Yeah.
Oh,
every
okay,
other
gotcha.
week.
Well, I passed somebody yesterday, they had 25 pizza boxes, so be prepared.
Well, and it's also educating folks on what they can put out, because as some of our city staff have learned, if it's got grease stains and food on it, you're supposed to just throw it away.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, pizza boxes, if they have grease and
I
leftover,
learned that the hard way as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
It's cardboard, though.
But it's got food in it, so it's contaminated. And this is all part of, again,
Hey,
Yeah.
we learning something every day.
pizza boxes, wine bottles, there's a whole bunch of education that we
The
need
wine
to,
bottle has to be empty, though, right?
unless you want to make some friends, yes.
So Corey, I know you got it. No, go ahead. So just out of curiosity,
Yes.
I know the idea behind getting this cart is to try to contain the trash in our city. This has been, an issue that constituents do agree with, right? To a certain degree. Now, with that, obviously, there's going to be a cost to the city in producing all of these cans, right? Now, do we have any, like, a program where our inspired constituent may be able to have a way to pay it forward? For example, people that want an additional card and maybe the city may not have. Do we have any of something like that where we, if Choma joke, because I need more can to put out trash and the city has just been marvelous and Cho want to pay it forward for others to
I
get.
want 6 more kids.
You hoping someone will pay it forward? Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Pay it
I don't know.
forward.
Could someone just make
Have
a
we thought
donation
about
to the
that?
city, Joe? Probably.
Right? Is that how we do it, or is there a special,
Not.
space where we can put this money into it, where others can pay it forward?
Yeah, I don't know that we have for city services a way for folk, unless you want to pay
Whichever.
somebody's tax bill. But yeah, I don't know
But
that we
just
have
to
a.
piggyback on top of that,
Yeah.
though, but isn't there a way, because I know Ann is always looking for grants,
Mm-hmm.
so she'll probably still be looking for grants for certain things
Yes.
and carts and stuff,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Not a lot of people have grants available for trash, but a lot of foundations and organizations have, and state and federal agencies have grants for recycling. So that's what she's been working pretty diligently with BNL to identify those funding opportunities so that, we wouldn't have to foot the bill entirely like we did with trash carts. Although trash carts were mostly paid for by the Financial Restructuring Board, but still.
Well, additional carts are 3 points. 1, the cost of the cart. 2, the cost to administer, deliver. And 3, the cost of the additional trash that cart will then render weekly.
Correct.
So it's not just the actual cart. It's-
Right.
We're saving money on limiting people on the trash that they're
So there's
putting out.
less for tipping fees.
We're not calculating that.
Produce less trash. I
Right.
mean, that's the reason we got rid of plastic
Right.
bags and things like that, so I don't know if encouraging people to contribute to somebody's extra cart is such a great idea, Counselor, but it's okay.
And Corey,
I'm asking because here in our committee, we always accept donation from people, right? It doesn't,
you seen a donation, man. You might seen a donation of carts. Go ahead with that. Corey, I'm finna come back around you.
So
You
what
done got
I'm
stuck.
trying to say is, obviously with this trash, there's a cost to it, right? And there are people in the city that do recognize good things. When they do recognize good things, they want to contribute financially, apart from their taxes, the regular taxation that they pay. right?
You want to
Right.
pay for something else.
Okay. Yeah, okay, Joe.
We got other things they can do.
Okay.
The trash
I mean,
mentor program.
and although we are taking on additional cost of providing carts and, you know, the tippers on the machines, you know, the hope is also that not only are we creating a cleaner city, but we're also creating a safer work environment for employees and that we see a reduction in workers' comp claims and costs associated. So, yes.
Back to what Councilor Caldwell said, kind of what Councilor Hogan said, right? You know how when you're getting off each intersection, you know how you get the one coming off of West Street, and you got the one down here on Brighton, and we know we got a lot of folks standing on them corners. There's no trash cans there, and when you walk away, all their trash. Is there a way that we could kind of bind
Borders.
the trash cans to those corners? I see your face, Jeremy, but we need to do something. We're gonna clean it up, we gotta clean it up.
I think we gotta talk to the state, because that's you know, those off-ramps are, they own by
We
the
end
state.
up cleaning them.
No, I get it. We can't just install a trash can without talking to them, so.
Well, some of them are not state. The one on Geddes Street is not a state street.
No, but the one on West and.
I know West and
And-
Brighton,
yes.
but even if we start on Geddes and put a trash can around that pole there so that they can stop throwing trash all over the place. So we have some avenues that we can do that at.
And I think it goes back to the, you know, the business corridors and trying to address the needs of the business corridors, which get us and all that. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'll talk to Brianka and see if there's a way that we can identify those.
That person talked to me to be an economic development.
Of
chair.
course.
You know, we're like, I think we're all pretty cognizant of how important those corridors are.
And so I'll donate to your receptacle.
Exactly. Buy a can for the community.
Councilor Mathers, I'd like to thank you for posting this. And I'd also like to thank the administration for working with the council on this. We got off to a little bit of a rocky start, but now we're really smooth as far as.
Together, better together,
You're right.
better together.
Can I also make this one other comment? Something that I've watched throughout the years, throughout the school district, like, so the zoning where the schools are too, where we know the paths that kids are walking, even though it might not be a business district, is there any way that we can look into getting some kind of trash cans when they're, you know what I mean, coming through? Because, you know, kids have stuff, and as they walking home, they're dropping it. You know, I know coming down Glenwood from Corcoran and coming, you know, not like through that certain neighborhoods, even if they're not business districts.
Right.
Can we look at maybe trying to get some trash cans throughout the way to
And I hear you,
support
baby,
that?
because it's like 4 corner stores
Yeah.
right there. So when
Yeah.
they hit them corner stores, they trashing it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and the good things, depending on where we put them, you know, then perhaps we could partner with the district because they obviously have maintenance crews as well. I'm thinking of, you know, when you round the corner off Meadowbrook into Nottingham, there's that, what used to be called the Smoker's Corner. I don't know what it's called now, but
The who?
from Meadowbrook turning onto,
Smokers
Smoker's
Corner.
Corner.
yeah.
What they smoked?
I just walked by and minded my own business, but I mean, there's a lot of trash there as people are dropping stuff as they're walking into school.
Yeah. So we can look into those. I mean, I know you guys are doing a great job. For now, we're trying to, like you said, come together. But
Sure.
part of helping making sure that the community stays clean, we're gonna have to take another extra step and make sure that we put in the same energy as we do downtown, but into the other parts of the city, so that we can make sure that the trash is picked up. And I think it'll save your workers in the long run, because people will start saying, "Oh, there's a trash can here."
And I
They
think we're
drop it off.
going back into history because I know Councilor Hogan remember this when, I don't know which administration it was, but they had all the dunk your junks around the
Brought
city.
it back.
And people used
brought
to
it
make,
back.
they used to.
7
I
years
still
ago.
got a picture.
You
I'm wearing a
remember
yellow
that 5 years
shirt.
ago, and
Mayor's
it was
Trash
supposed to be-
Busters.
What was that
60
man's
trash
name?
That was
around.
That was Tom Young.
It was Tom Young, but it was the man that did the announcing at Syracuse University. What was his name, Pat? What was that man's
Just
name?
remember Mayor Young being the guy doing it.
Yeah.
I brought it back 5 years ago, and it was
I
supposed
know,
to be
but it
60
should have been
trash cans.
citywide. It wasn't citywide.
About 60 trash cans.
The 60 trash cans ain't gonna cover the whole city.
Was it Mike Tirico? Mike Tirico?
Was it Mike Tirico? No, it wasn't Mike Tirico. He was an older guy. He used to wear that cape. What was his name?
You mean the Dennis Brogan?
That's who I'm talking
The Dome
about.
Ranger.
The Dome Ranger.
Ranger, yeah.
Dome Ranger.
He's still around?
He is still around. He is. Oh, Brian says no?
Okay, Councilor Gathers, thank you, but you didn't get to ask no questions. You got any?
Yeah.
Excited.
Yeah.
What's up, baby? You know, we heard everything about the constituents in the city and the residents. How have the employees been dealing with this issue with the tippers and everything? Have they, timing's been okay and all that type of stuff? The operation's been running pretty smooth?
Yeah, I think they have, the crews that have been working on the cart routes accepted it. I think in the beginning, some of them had their reservations, but I think now even the senior crews that working on the other routes want to work on the sanitation cart routes now. Just to hear the feedback from them saying that, hey, you don't go home beat up, you don't go home and get messy. You can actually wear, you know, some good sneakers to work and that with steel toes and you come back to with the same shoes that you had on with, you know. So it's I think it's a pleasant feedback that we had that we didn't think that would have been positive, and those workers have given us positive feedback.
That's good. You know, we do have to respond to the email that Corey sent us so that we can figure out what direction we all want to go on that. Other than that, if nobody else has any comments or questions, so I'd like to say thank you all for being here, and this meeting is done.
Thank you. Thank you, councilors. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I just wanted to ask.
Madam President?
I just was curious.
You at?